This is the 2009 FME International User Conference session entitled FME 2010 and Beyond, presented by SAFE co-founders Don Murray and Dale Lutz.
Okay, good morning. Well, welcome back to our exciting conference, and I know many of you are hoping to see Don and I dance up here on stage this morning to reprise our great dancing last night. And Don was commenting to me just earlier that we're used to dancing, but normally it's tap dancing when the software doesn't quite work the way it's expected. And so Don's going to be demoing, I'm sorry Ryan, he's actually going to be demoing a cut that you wouldn't have even approved, and so you might get a chance to see at least Don tap dancing
that's right.
This morning as well. The other thing I wanted to mention is that after the comedian last night, Don and I decided that we would try to restore some family values into the conference this morning. And so you'll see later on, Don has spent a lot of time last night reworking some of his demonstrations to emphasize the kind of family values that we at SAFE want to promote. So you'll catch that later on.
Yeah. So I have a few announcements. The first one is that I have a really nice shirt here that got left up on the mountain last night. So if it's yours, you don't have to. Oh, there it is. Okay, we found
our first winner. Come on down.
Come on down. That's right.
Yes. There you go. That's right. Okay, another bit of housekeeping. The doctors have told me that the advanced workshops that are running, there are some extra manuals from those. And if any of you feel like picking those up, the data is all available somewhere. Is that right, Mark? So that you'll be able to get the data afterwards to download, but you can have these fine manuals to take back or take them to your colleagues in the office. I'm actually particularly interested in this one, Don. Dynamic workspaces and?
The 3 R's.
And to this day, right this second, I don't know what the 3 R's.
I have no idea.
So I'm sure if you read this,
yeah,
you could find
out. With that cut, one of the R's wasn't reading.
Probably not.
Probably not. But
writing.
Anyway.
Now, the other thing, that's a bad sign.
Yep.
The other thing that we wanted to mention was that while the FME Idol was going on last night, unknown to all of you and known to me but forgotten by me, was that in Australia, Brett Madsen was feverishly doing the same contest, and we absolutely ignored him. And but then later on he was emailing us, hey, my results are ready, and we never looked at them, never did anything. But we thought we'd at least show, first let's take a look at Brett's workspace. So he got the data the same time as our contestants did. And I thought it was interesting just to show that. What he did was just he added a bunch of different readers and pulled in the different images in order.
Yep, so he created one reader for each of the files. And that way you could control the order.
Right, and he even, look at that, he even annotated them so he knew what he was doing. And then he put them all into a mosaicer. And our kind Mark Ireland had adjusted the images so that they would line up roughly in the right place. So you didn't need to do any offsetting or anything like that. And then he would put them out to KML over here, but he went and basically told the KML where to plant the image down. And then I'm not exactly sure what he was hoping to prove with his label point replacer. That's a bit of a mystery to me. But
but it looks like, yeah.
But anyway, then his result, which we can take a peek at, is here. So he actually...
He laid it right over Google Earth.
He slapped it down on the terrain of Google Earth. So I thought that was kind of inventive and surely worthy of sending him a pair of socks. Is Mitch here somewhere? There we go.
There's Mitch.
And actually, while I'm doing that, then I'll make my deliveries out there, which will cause my sound man some heartache. But we also had someone who probably was the unluckiest safer here yesterday. He had an 8 out of 9 chance of being in the FME Idol and came up empty. So Jason, I hope you're not buying any lottery tickets or anything like that right away, but we'll at least give you a pair of socks to wear back to Nanaimo. So what do you think, Jason, white or black? Black. He's going black. And what do you think Brett would want? Pink. Okay. We'll give him white. He can always wash them with his other shirts. So I think that's all the housekeeping like that.
Yeah, and now we can start. We have some other housekeeping, okay, to get started here today. So the first thing is, remember the doctors are available today as well from 10 to 12:30 and 1 to 3:30. And then we'll have a final doctor's report at the end of the conference. So the ideas board, I read the ideas board yesterday, lots of good stuff. It's up right by the doctor's office if you didn't see that. If you have anything, write it down, post it on the board. A lot of great ideas you're putting there too. So it doesn't matter how small or how large. In some sense, the small things are really the sweet things because they matter to everybody.
Not the Swede things.
Not the sweet things, the sweet things. That's right. Okay. So birds of a feathers, we're going to have that again. We've added another one. We're going to have the Weo Geo one again. Yesterday the table was full, and so we're going to run it again. So Paul's here somewhere. Where are you, Paul? Oh,
he's busy out there at a table.
He's busy out there at a table already.
Table.
He's at the breakfast table.
But anyway, for those that want, the Weo Geo was the hottest ticket in town, and so it'll be back again today.
Yeah. And I've been told I shouldn't go there. Well, we're busy anyway. But anyway, good. Okay, and at the end here, we're going to have a closing session. We're going to answer as many of the questions as we can. Obviously, we can't answer them all, but we're going to have some good fun.
And we might even do that pose.
Yeah, the famous pose that our staff is tired of. We have a suggestion box at work, and one of the recent ones was, can't you get a different pose of Don and Dale next time?
So anyway. We like our staff with these kind suggestions that they send in.
Yeah, there's nothing that's off limits, really. Yep. Okay, and just a reminder, the conference back channel on Twitter.
Which actually, I paged through that last night. It was kind of interesting reading. And thank you, Jason, for all your kind comments during the day. But you can go to Twitter and just say search for #FMEUC, and then you can see it. Last night there was about 5 pages of drivel about the conference.
Dribble?
Drivel.
Oh, drivel. Okay.
I'm sure our British friends will know what that means. But anyway.
You're a huge Twitter fan, I can tell.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, the main thing for our standpoint is not only sharing with you what we're doing, but to learn from you. So please let us know what we can do better. Okay. And then we're back here at...
That slide's out of order, but anyway.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
Well, that's
what happens when we put together a slide deck at 1 in the morning.
When we're busy putting family values back in
here. Right, okay. That's right. So...
There we go.
Okay, so we're ready to go. And one thing that I really enjoy about this conference is that people share their thoughts. Okay, I'll save those for a little later. And so I will not reveal who this was, but one person came up and they said they really enjoyed the way Dale and I banter back and forth. And I said, well, thank you very much. And they said, well, you guys remind me of... So, I didn't really ask which one I was, but having looked at the picture, it probably wouldn't matter. So,
well, thank you very much for your kind words.
That's right, and we hope that's a good thing.
Yes. Actually, Don, we should mention the other thing. I know that there was a talk given at the FME user conference in Germany by our friends Jeff Conan and Brett Madsen that correlated the number of formats in FME with some other thing. What was that, Don?
It was how much hair I've lost. They had pictures of me over time as the number of formats went up and the amount of hair I had lost. So there you go. Yeah. So anyway, lots of interesting stuff going on. Okay. So. Okay, that's the next first thing. Now, before I get started here, we're going to be doing a lot of demos, okay? And if people get excited, our marketing department has kindly created FME diapers, okay? So if you find that you're having trouble controlling yourself, maybe you feel like a small puppy or something when you see some of this stuff, we're all friends here, so I'll just put them here. And nobody is going to say anything. What happens in this room stays in this room. But please
other than what's on the video.
But please do take these from the room if you use them. Okay, so we'll just leave them there. And just to make things a little bit more exciting, if I get FME to crash, I'll wear a pair.
Oh wow! So run the Mac.
So now I have serious skin in this. And Ryan Prue now is really scared.
He's using 6105, Ryan.
So anyway, so there we go. So again, we're among friends here. So okay.
See, family values.
That's right, family values. Okay. So one of the things, of course, somehow I lost the slide that talked about performance in general. Oh no, here we go. So one of the things we're working on, of course, at SAFE is performance. So we have yet to do the big performance push for this release, but already the FME engine, which is, of course, the back, it's a thing underneath everything. The desktop, the server, it's the thing that does all the work, is 5% faster than FME 2009. Another thing I know that users out there working with large workspaces have mentioned to me many times is that opening a large workspace is slow. Okay, so we've put some effort into that as well, and right now, Workbench is 20% faster if you have for large workspaces, okay? And so we're still going to make more effort, because that's one thing we feel that everybody cares about is performance. Even if the functionality is the same, if it does the same thing in less time, everybody's happy. So we're going to make every release of FME faster than the previous release, okay? So here's just some of the things I went. Of course, our development staff is a little bit at horror. They track this stuff. They haven't really put the effort into tuning this sucker up. But here's some of the things I found as I poke through our statistics that we grabbed.
So to give you an idea, we have about, I don't know, 4,000 or 5,000 tests that run nightly. We've categorized them into different groups. We call them tribes of tests. And we can monitor then the performance across those tribes against the last release. We've got data now that's historical, going back quite a ways. And so the core plumbing tribe, which is sort of affects everything that we do, that tribe, 4%. The long run, those are tests that take, I think, more than a minute to run. Is that right, Ryan? Or even longer than a minute. So these are the ones that really grind. So they're 6%. And the raster tests, quite an impressive improvement there. I didn't even know about that. So they're a lot faster now. I noticed that I was reading Hans's blog. Where's Hans? There he is. He said that he just might give FME raster a try since the first time since 2006. I say, Hans, go for it. You should be surprised.
Okay, and FME opening, again, faster. So that's one of the things we're always focusing on. Okay, Workbench, so we're going to get into some demos here. So in the past, if you had a workspace that looked something like this, and you wanted to find something.
Is that one of Jeff's workspaces?
No, this is Mita's actually. Okay. This is the famous AIXM 4.5.
Oh, this is what keeps airplanes in the sky.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm taking the train.
Yeah. Excellent. Good idea. Okay. So in the past, if you want to look for something, say you want to look for, maybe airspace. Better click here. You want to look for airspace. We just sort of said, get yourself a big cup of coffee. Start searching, and good luck. And
it's a bit like geocaching, really.
Yeah, it is. But now, of course, you can just, if you know how to spell airspace, you can just type it and look at that. You can say, oh, was I interested in the bookmarks? Maybe I was interested in the bookmark. There's all the bookmarks. If I want to jump to one, I just double click, and there I go. It's right there, and it's going to zoom into that bookmark. Okay.
Uh-oh.
No, that's
I was
okay.
worried about the pants there, Don.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm worried about the pants, too. Believe me, Lackner's really worried about the pants. I think, yeah. So anyway, and you get the idea. So you just see all the comments. You see everything. We've broken it down by type, because maybe you're looking for an attribute with that value. So then you can jump to whatever has that value. You can open it and take a look at the parameters, the attributes, and just jump all over and see exactly where a particular thing's used. So if there's an attribute, say, called airspace ID, again, this is going to save you lots of time.
Airpack?
Airspace ID, again, then you can see all the attributes and find out where airspace ID is used. So hugely going to save you a lot of time. So that's one thing that users, again, not a big thing, but if you're working on large workspaces, it's a really key thing.
I will mention that Don's doing fairly simple queries here. We're actually using, and this sets up Peter for the end of the day, we're using SQLite's fast text search. So there's a whole SQL language underneath there, so you can, Graham, tell us, what can you do?
More stuff. I've never tried it.
Okay, well there you go. From the developer who created it, you can tell it's been thoroughly tested. But nonetheless, you can type things like this and this, or this, but not this. You can put together quite complicated free text searches a la Google-ish stuff, and then have that be found like that. And right now, that search that's sophisticated in that way is only in that part of Workbench, but we're going to roll that out across other places, across Workbench in the short term. And I've had people talk to me about employing a search like this on FME server as well to search the repositories for certain things. That's a bit longer term. We're supposed to talk about beyond, so that's at least one thing in the beyond.
We have one slide on beyond.
Okay, so maybe I'll save it for then. Okay. But nonetheless, we know that finding things is important, and so we've got invested in a bit of technology to do that.
Okay, so that's the first thing. The next thing, of course, as you saw yesterday, was the data inspector, but we will demonstrate that now. Okay, so we go into...
You're going to show it on the Mac or on the...
I think I will, I'm not going to live on the edge for that one.
Well, he's going with Windows 7 beta.
Yeah, oh, that's right. So we're running all these demos in Windows 7 beta. So just in case you're wondering if...
Because, Ed, we believe in it.
That's right.
Ed's from Microsoft, in case you don't know.
So I'll fire up the Windows, the data inspector. Okay. We won't look at the version. You got to do that again. That's something we know about. Basically, it opens the window, but then it forgets to actually do the thing. So then you go, okay.
So this is SketchUp.
Yep. Reading SketchUp directly. I'm not really interested in that. Okay. Here it comes. Dun, dun, dun. And looks pretty much like it did before.
Whoops, you just closed it.
Did I? I closed the wrong X.
The old wrong X gag.
The old wrong X gag. Okay, there we go.
We'll just prove that we can open it twice.
That's right. See, now we're off-roading. So, and now if I'm good
You want to get rid of your...
I want to get rid of this guy right there. That's the X I want. There we go. Then I can zoom in here. Okay. Now, see, there you go. Ta-da! Okay, but the really cool part is when you click this 3D part.
But
right
notice
here.
it is showing the textures actually even in 2D.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So if I click 3D, and now I click this little button here, I can simply rotate it and zoom in. And you can see right through it, see? Because we really do support the textures on this. So that's that's right down inside. And
that's a view a lot of people don't get to see, actually.
That's right. That's right. So
can you select something on there, Don, just to show them that this is the same functionality of the viewer that you all know and love?
Well, let's try.
I haven't tried this really.
And so I just select that
you need to get that window back.
Yeah, view. Feature information.
Let's try
there
that.
it is, and look at that.
It's nice and small too.
Yeah.
And see, the other thing about that feature information, it's got that filter there. So if all we care about is
things with type, I just type type, and then I just see those attributes.
So that's an improvement from the old viewer as well. So. And we've got the same fancy pants geometry. Although this one is actually even better because you can expand and collapse the different areas.
That's right.
So if you
So if not really too interested in material, I can collapse that down. I can open this, collapse that one down, and so on.
So anyway, it lets you navigate through the various pieces of complex geometries much more conveniently.
Okay. I think I'm going to close this now. Okay. I really don't want to wear those. Okay. So
it used to crash every time you closed it.
Oh yes, new FME art. Just because. Oh, wrong one.
Ulf was busy.
Ulf was busy. We threw down the gauntlet, and Ulf sounds a lot like art. Same number of letters. Okay. And so now if I basically open this with Workbench.
Oh yeah, and that lets us show that other part of Workbench.
That's right. So now within Workbench you can actually pick which visualizer you're using. So you simply go Tools, Options.
Which one was it?
It was Workbench. Workbench at the bottom there. Set Visualizer Application. You can switch between the new one or the old one. If you switch to the new one and then you click Run, then you're going to see this is the spin in 3D.
So for those that don't know, Ulf is a long time. He probably invented the whole genre of FME art. And you can go to FMEpedia and see his various creations over the years. And
yeah. So now 3D has given him a whole new way of.
So where did it go, Don?
Oh, look at that. Enable. That'll help.
We wrote a file.
Yeah. We don't want to do that, so we'll disable that. Okay. And there we go. Up comes the data inspector, and you can see I click here for 3D, and again, this one's a rather, my virtual machine's not happy with this one, but basically you get the idea. He's made some, I guess, connected wagon wheels or something. Okay, the other one's really cool, so that's that one. Okay, one more FME art. Okay, and this one is up here. This one's called
a tribute
to the 2D grid replacer.
As the person who made the 2D grid replacer, I really appreciate that. I don't think it's had enough tributes.
That's right. I'm waiting for a tribute to the text line writer. Okay, you run this one again, and this one's kind of neat. This one you can turn it on 3D, and because it's smaller, you can just get stuff going. So you can, so there you go.
That's like sort of our radar dish.
That's right. That's right. So there you go.
Scanning.
The first instance of 3D art, and
unveiled here in Whistler.
So thank you all for that. We really appreciate that.
Let's give Wolf a round of applause.
And all these will be made available as part of the conference delivery, so you too can take Alf and build on his art, okay?
So the interesting thing, Alf, you whipped those together in the afternoon yesterday, is that right?
Yeah, I was trying to do it in your workshops, but they were kind of high-paced. I didn't get much time there.
So we don't leave Alf enough time during our workshops to do art, so we must have picked up the pace this year.
Yeah.
So that's good.
So some of the new transformers, we'll just touch on these. We've added some new, we've worked with NRCan on a project to add some new generalization capabilities, so there's a bunch of stuff about that. And this is just one example about how to take multiple areas and be able to generalize it. They have a big project. Daniel's going to be talking about it today at 10:55.
You can take that talk
so
in.
That'll be very interesting.
There's at least 2 of the doctors that are here that were highly involved in that, so if you're interested, check out with Dimitri or Kevin, and they can talk to you about the various transformers.
Yeah, there's just tons of them as well. So, and this is just a different thing they've done. This one's using convex hulls to try to generalize area features. So lots of interesting applications. If you need to generate less detailed data for shipping to a web map viewer, for example, then that's one application for this.
I'll just mention as well, I don't think we have slides on them, but they added, if any of you have ever used the line generalization stuff in FME, there used to be about 3 or 4 options. Now there's about 8.
Yeah.
Wang simplification, a whole bunch of different algorithms for that. They've also added some very interesting network analysis things, which I know that when we put those in the hands of you, we're going to do things we never dreamt you'd do, like Strahler ordering, which kind of ranks the importance of streams. There's also things that take a network and will flip segments that are the wrong way for things to flow from one direction to the other. And there's shortest path, so that Craig can do the traveling salesman problem more efficiently. So we'll be able to do those sorts of things.
So this is just an example of the Strahler one. What Dimitri did here is based on the number, he buffered the stream, so you can sort of see visually where the major arteries are of a stream network visually.
For those of you that are Canadian, you know that Tim Hortons is a national chain that sells donuts and coffee, and so we're very excited that we have a Horton to go along with our donut builder, and and underneath FME we have a tea factory, so we pretty much have everything you need.
That's right. That's right. We got it all. Okay, something else we're working on is FME integration with FMEpedia. So here's sort of the scenario here. Okay, I better get rid of this one. I don't want that one around for very long. Okay, I'll open it. We'll go to a data set first, so I'll get rid of that. No, not that one. Okay. Oh, first comes to worst, go back to the. So I have a data set here. Okay, on my desktop, demos, generics. No, what am I doing? This is where sleep really kills you. Oh yeah. And numbering them in the wrong order doesn't help. So you have, we have a file. Oh, great, I got a file. FME can't read this file. So what am I going to do? Well, in the past, you'd go find it in FMEpedia. You would then have to download it. Okay, so now what we've done with FME is, I'm going to fire up the right one this time. Okay, I want to see my desktop. Oh, well, what the heck. Okay, so here we go. What I can do now is there's this new button called Download from FMEpedia. It's automatically going to connect to FMEpedia. Okay, now the internet, of course, is always an issue. So, but basically, we will, it'll connect to, there's an FME server running on FMEpedia that only has the repository. In the repository are formats, transformers, just samples and that sort of thing. So it'll connect to it, I can download it, and then I can immediately run the workspace. Okay, so we will just leave that going like that, and we'll carry on, and then I'll check back periodically so we don't spend 10 minutes waiting for... So
the idea is that Don knows that there's a custom format sitting up there in FMEpedia, and he wants to download it and use it. Yeah. So we need to, that's an area where, you know, this is a good starting point. We have to improve the searchability part of that, so that you'd be able to easily figure out, oh yeah, there is what I need there. So, but we are getting there. The custom transformers as well that are there, that whole library will be available in the same manner.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is tie Workbench to the web, make it more of a web interactive environment. So now it's in everybody's user's face. They can get it much more easier. So then we think people will use it more. Okay. So a huge thing for FME in 2010 is this whole notion of generics and dynamics. And basically what that's all about is just breaking the chain of formats and schema. In the past, on desktop for a long time, we had the UT where basically you could point at a file and then point at any file, say where you're going to, where you're coming from, click a button, and under the scenes it would do a bunch of things, and then you get output. But of course, that doesn't even go to the server. From the command line, there was also FME. You could do a generic translation from the command line. But we wanted to give users some of those capabilities with Workbench so that then they could deploy to server. So that's really what generics is all about. So now you can basically write, and we'll do this in a minute, you could write a workspace and go from anything to anything and have transformers in the middle that are adding value. So, okay, so that's really the idea.
The one key thing, those of you that did use the old FME Gen Trans, I know that was mentioned yesterday in some of the talks, or the Universal Translator, the one key thing is that you could, even though you could use those to kind of translate between things you don't know the schema of, there was no way to do any operations along the way. If you wanted to do generalization, if you wanted to do certain kinds of things, add an attribute, you couldn't do that. This not only lets you do all the things you used to be able to do, but as well bring in a transformation. You got to FMEpedia back there, Don?
Yep, it finally came up. It's a very fast internet connection. So what I did is I simply browsed the repositories. Now remember, the final user interface is going to change. This is just to give you the idea of how easy it'll be. I simply then click download, okay? And now we'll go back to our talk because it's not a very big file, but hey, the connection's very, very slow. Okay.
It's Jason Birch with all his twittering is slowing down the...
That's right. That back channel is just killing us. Okay. Okay. So there's a number of ways you can use generics and dynamics. Okay, the first thing is you can just use a generic writer. This was in 2009. And the good thing about this was you could specify the output at runtime. So if you had a boss who said, oh, I want you to read all these shape files, and then you say to him, well, where do you want to put the data? He says, well, I have no idea. So then you just say, okay, fine, I'll just use a generic writer. Oh, look at that. Okay, this is... Good thing we can multitask up here, although...
We should be twittering at the same time.
We should be twittering at the same time. So there we go. So now it's downloaded the FDS. It put it right in the right directory by default, my FME format, so I can say save. Okay. And yeah, I want to replace it. Maybe I've done this before. And so now it's actually doing the saving, the downloading part. So, okay. So back over here. Okay, so that's why you would use the generic writer. You could create a format, a transformation, a workspace that went out, who knew where the format was going.
Now, to be very clear, that particular scenario is the typical old spatial direct scenario. It's a typical data download scenario. I have a central database. I know what my tables are. I want to make an easy service so that people can just hit that and get a copy in the format that they pick. So it was invented to make it easy to let you pick the format at runtime, but you knew what you were starting with.
That's right. And you also knew a pure generic writer. You also knew the output schema. Okay. Then we had, and we also had this in 2009, although the user interface has improved in 2010. You could also create a workspace in which you didn't know the writer or the output schema, but you did know the input format. So then your boss comes to you and says, you know what, I want you to write a workspace that goes from shape, that goes to anything, and you say to him, well, what kind of shape file? He says, I don't know. Where you want to go? I don't know. And so then you could do this. And this was really useful in data distribution on FME Server, for example, because you could publish a workspace to FME Server that could read a database, any database table, and make it available in any format for data download. And then when somebody in the organization changed the schema or added a new table, you could still run the same workspace because it discovered the schema or the table and the output format at runtime. So there you go. So
they were very, very resilient to change.
Yeah, yeah. So, ooh, that requirement's not quite right. But anyway, that's a slide issue. We'll fix it for the final one.
Yeah, the requirement isn't right.
The requirement isn't right. Okay.
The input format and the input schema have to be known.
That's right.
No, not the input schema.
Just the input format.
And only input format.
Yeah, yeah. And then we had the generic writer with dynamics. Oh, that's, anyway. This one. This should say the output format. Yeah, that's dynamic. Sorry, I'm getting confused. Yeah, we also had the dynamics where basically you knew the input format and the output format, but you didn't know the schema. So we could do that now.
There's 4 squares in the matrix. Basically, we can do them all. That's the message that
that's right.
you have to remember.
That's right.
Be like, I don't know. Yeah, it depends how much you know and how much you care about any one of those things. But the bottom line is, if you wanted to, you might know the output format. I know Mark Stokes, wherever he is, if he's out of his handcuffs by now.
There he is.
He had this scenario and pushed it upon us that he knew the output format. He knew he was going to PostGIS. And he wanted to be able to access conveniently a number of PostGIS levers that are part of the PostGIS format, but he didn't know what the schemas were going to be. Yeah. So that's why the thing about a generic writer is that it's a little more awkward. You can do it, but it's more awkward to access the specific controls for a particular format. If I say, I don't know where I'm going, then it's a little bit hard for you to ask for or for us to give you a place to put the password. Because if you don't know where you're going, well, where's the password prompt going to come from? But if you do know you're going to PostGIS and you want to set the transaction interval, then you can, but then you can flip that to dynamic. Dynamic means you don't know the schema. Generic means you don't know the format. Yeah. And that's the terms we're trying to use, and you can mix and match them in every way, and they each have applicability in different cases.
Yeah, another place where that could be used is if you had a data upload service to on FME server. So you knew the destination was a database, but you wanted users to be able to upload any file with particular, and then at runtime it would be able to create the table and load it into the database. So it didn't know the schema at runtime. Of course, now we've added generic writer with dynamic schema, and so now you don't have to know the output format or the output schema. Okay, so that's pretty exciting. So now we could take any old shapefile and do it. And last but not least, we've also added the generic reader. This is not in the UC cut. This is, I guess as Shakespeare would say, this is from the developer's hands untimely ripped. Okay, so that makes Ryan very, very nervous up there. And it's okay if I saw a twinge if you need them, they're there for you, buddy. Okay, so, and what this one does is this finally breaks the last chain. This says now you do not need to know the input schema, you do not need to know the input format, you do not need to know the output format, you do not need to know the output format schema. And I know the people who work with Dale and I, we'll tell them to do something and they'll ask us a question, like maybe we'll say, can you write a workspace that takes some data and goes from one place to another place? They'll say, sure, where do you want to go and where are you coming, where are you going? So I don't know, you just figure it out. And so now they can do that and deliver a little workspace. So we will, I think we have a problem we have to solve with this.
Is that right?
I think we do. Okay, so your boss wants a workspace. They'll convert data from anything to anything. And so fortunately, you knew Ryan Prue and you promised him things. So he promised him he'd wear underpants, for example, if it crashed. So then it's in the best interest that it might crash, maybe. And so for extra points, we're also going to show how you can add transformers in the middle that you can calculate things. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Are you ready?
Try, yeah.
We're going to try. Okay. Okay, so first of all, we better...
Literally, this Harbinder checked this code in when, Graham? Friday? A week ago? Monday? Yeah, so this hasn't been tested very much, so we'll see what's going to happen.
We'll see what happens. Here. First, we better make sure we have the right build, or if I open the wrong one. Okay, is it coming up? Well, I'm finished with that.
Yes,
okay, there it is.
That's the one.
Okay.
So what you're going to do here, Don?
I'm going to make sure I have the right version first. Ooh, I didn't. See, good thing I checked. That would have been really bad. That would have been underpant time. Okay, I'm going to quick this.
So,
okay.
What are you, you're just going to clean it all off?
I'm going to my desktop. There we go. Ooh, the shortcut's gone too.
I think Don really doesn't want to demo this.
Yeah, this will be it. That's interesting. Where'd that shortcut go? I bet it's off the bottom.
Ed, can we report that to the Windows 7 folks?
6084. Okay, wow, we're going to go find it.
Maybe.
My goodness gracious. Okay.
While Don's doing that, I'll talk a little bit about the generic reader as it stands right now. Again, lets you specify the format at runtime that it's going to read from. We're also going to have a mode in there where it will guess the format based on the file extension.
Oh, yeah,
so many of the formats you can guess accurately, but some of them we can't quite, and maybe if we have to, we can get more sophisticated. I know we have technology around to try to figure out the right MDB reader to use. There's GeoMedia Access Warehouse, there's Personal Geodatabase, and of course Access itself. And we do have some of that around. That would require us to do more effort than just looking at the file extension. But for example, our raster guys are quite excited because they can use the generic reader pointed at a directory of raster files. They have well-behaved extensions. We'll be able to read rasters without caring what format they were in with just one reader. So that's one example. And
we're ready to go.
We're ready to go. Okay, I'll save my second one for the next pause.
Okay. Yeah, the next time I'm panicking. I appreciate you supporting me up here. If I need a hug, I'll let you know.
I'm here for you, man.
That's right. Okay, so we just got to find any piece of data. Okay, so I should be able to find that. Okay, this is very nerve-wracking up here. Okay, so let's see, demo, shortcut, yeah, and then I can pick...
generics and dynamics for
generics
200,
and dynamics,
please.
yeah, Interopolis shortcut, that's where my data is. Data, and it doesn't really matter what I pick, so let's pick properties. We just have to pick, I better not pick a MID file. We'll pick a MIF file, okay? And I can't, ultimately I'll be able to click dynamic workflow, but you sort of step on a mine when you do that. And the key here is I'm going to just leave the input format as null. And the FME is smart enough to know that if you pick null, you really have no idea what the data is, so it has to help you. So I like that a lot. Okay, so I click this. And then it's going to do its thing. It's grinding away. And I got to go in here and configure this. OK. I'm going to say merge and star.
How many people like a default of star there?
OK. And I'm going to get rid of the user attributes because I can. OK. Okay, so there we go. We got this nice little generic thing here.
That'll all happen automatically when Harbinder gets his next check-in.
Yeah. And now I'm going to add a data set. And again, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm going to add generic.
Okay.
And I'm going to put it in everybody's favorite directory in Windows, C:/temp. Okay. And there's nothing for me to set there. I'll just say null again. Sure. I like null. Okay. So there we go. And I'm going to say...
Did you say dynamic there, Don, or not?
Sure.
Oops, you cancel.
I cancel. See, I got scared. Okay. 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 And we'll say dynamic here again.
Should he be scared, Graham?
Well, there's a few issues. So we'll say yes, and we will say OK. And now I connect this here, and now I have a workspace that can go from anything to anything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete that because I don't really know where I want to go. I'm just going to go find some data. Okay, so I'm going to run this with everybody's favorite thing, prompt and run translation. And let's go find some data. Well, I did it with shape, with MIF, so let's go up here and find a really big data set called schools. Okay, and schools regions. And let's pick a shapefile, schools bounds. Okay. And the output, I'm going to pick the output format. Let's pick tab. And with any luck, okay, I'll run this.
Can we see the log window, Don? It's just denying us the pleasure of watching the log go by.
Yeah. Oh, you want to see? Oh, I'm dying. Yeah, okay, view. You want to see that? You missed it.
No, you just have to slide it up. It's there, but...
Oh, it's there. It's just small, right? Okay. Okay. And what did it say? It said it wrote 4 features. Like I said, it's a big data set. Okay. And if we go to see temp, oh, look at that. And with any luck,
I think that's almost worth dancing for, Don.
I think it's almost worth dancing for. And if I click on one, you even see the attributes there. Decode, name, short name, T-code. Look at that. Isn't that awesome?
It's awesome, but...
Okay, now for full points.
Let's go for the extra points.
Okay. Now, wouldn't it be really nice if I could publish this to server? But I know if I do that now, I would be wearing the pants for sure, because there's not a hope it's going to work, so I won't do that. But now what if the guy says, you know what, that's fine, great and dandy, but I'd really like you to add a length in an area. And by the way, I'd also like you to be able to reproject this, because I just want to be able to do that. So then I'd have a workspace that could go from anything to anything, reproject the data, calculate the length at an attribute, and calculate the area. So, so we'll do that. So I can't remember what the transformer is that calculates the length. So I'm going to type length there. Oh, look at that. It's called length calculator. So I'll put that down there like that. And then we will, same with area. Okay, area calculator. That's a little trick if you put the sort of the next word on you. Okay, anyway. Go that there, and we'll change this to length, okay? Okay, because I know that if I keep the names of the attributes matching, I don't have to
connect things up. So now he's going to add attributes to all of them.
Yeah, so I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say length.
So whatever he puts here just gets added to whatever the schema had to begin with.
That's right. Real and area, real. Okay, so now in theory, we better publish the coordinate, the output coordinate system, because I also want to be able to specify that. So default value, let's say LL83. Okay, Or let's pick EPSG 2287. That's my favorite.
That's because Ed's a big EPSG guy. This one's for you, Ed.
Well, ESPG, that would be interesting.
ESP would be good. That's what you need sometimes when you're working with coordinate systems.
Okay, so we'll do that. By the way, does everybody know Google's EPSG number? 900913 spells Google, so that's how they figured that out. So if you didn't learn anything else at this conference, you can do that. I use that at parties sometimes, you know. My wife's a psychologist. They kind of look at me strange anyway. So then I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Don. Do you know Google's EPSG number? And I say it's 900913. And you know, I do that to a few people, and pretty soon you have a lot of free time. Okay. So okay. So anyway, so there you go. So now we have a workspace that. And look at that. It's going to ask me for the source data set. Well, let's pick something different. Ooh, let's live really on the edge. Let's go, okay, desktop, demos, yeah, there, generics and dynamics. No, I don't want to go there. I want to go find my, yeah, I want to go to Interopolis. Data, GPS. Let's go find a different GPS one. Okay, let's go find that one. Okay, because this is that format I just downloaded. Okay, off the web.
Did you actually finish downloading it?
I believe I did. Okay. Okay, and let's pick a different coordinate system. Let's pick LL83. Okay, and let's say this one we want to go to shape. Okay, so we'll pick shape here. Okay, so we're changing a lot of things here. Okay, and again, I'm not even going to tell it what the input format is, and I'm really hoping that whoever created that custom format did bother to set up the feature.
Is this going to guess the format, Don?
It is.
You're kidding me.
No.
Graham, does that work? I didn't think that worked. Oh.
Oh, diaper time.
Well, it didn't crash, strictly.
Oh, no, that's okay. It's not. It's a user problem. That's just strictly not speaking diapers. Okay. Okay, because the problem is that what I need to do is, and this goes back to Dale's thing about what do you do if you want to use a reader that has settings. The generic knows nothing about the settings. So what you need to do is you add this thing called a schema reader, okay, where you actually set up.
You know, Don, maybe before you do that, why don't you just run it once for them with like a plain format so they believe us?
Oh, one that works?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, for example, one that works.
One that works. Okay,
and then we'll get into why.
And then we'll get in what
so
what
Don's
the
problem was it did guess the GPS format, but the GPS format needs a database.
It needs a database.
And so
I
didn't have it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So let's go something more plain like, you know, I don't know, do you have a MIF file or a DGM?
Oh, yeah, we have lots of MIF files. So let's go find a MIF file, demo day. Let's go for one of these guys here. Okay, so which one do you want?
I'll take roads, please.
Roads.
Could you take more than one?
Yeah, sure you can.
Okay, I'm pushing him to the limit there. What if you take...
Now we're off-roading big time. We might both be wearing those.
We never tried this before.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take 3 of them then.
Take 3 of them. Okay, and shape's good?
I think we better stick with shape.
Okay, and this is going to be interesting because shape, of course, can handle multiple geometries in a single file. And so we're, okay.
Yeah, we could...
This is good. This is good. Okay, so let's go to temp.
Yeah, the old gag where MIF can have, you know, points.
Oh, look at that. It did figure it out.
That's a bit of a relief.
Oh, but did we get the new attributes?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Should we check?
Okay, we should have.
Pull them all up, Don. Just go for the dot. I want to see all 3.
Okay, okay.
Ooh, this is kind of big icons.
Yeah.
When you're getting old like us, you need those sort of icons.
But still, they kind of jump out at you. Oh, ooh, I don't know what I did there.
Well, there they kind of are. Which ones are they? They're sorted by name, not by date.
Right, let's go by date. Oh, I'm not used to this configuration.
Okay.
But we'll fix that next time we're there. Okay, okay, so now in theory, they're all going to come up. Oh, good, the boundary areas came on top. That's kind of handy.
Why don't you select one of them and we can see if they actually have an area.
Yep, so put that guy right to the bottom. And yeah, we'll pick this big guy here. Look at that. That guy has a line. Does that guy have length? Let's start small. He does.
There it is.
Whew.
Well, you know what? See, the reason that scared us all, at least me, was because shape can only do uppercase attributes. If you recall, when Don added those attributes, they were lowercase.
Yeah.
But we're clever enough underneath to push that up and magically get the value across, which I was a little nervous about for a second there. But if we went to MIF or something that could handle lowercase, it would have preserved that. It would also truncate. If Don was long-winded and said length of the outside perimeter, it would have hacked it down to 8 characters.
Yeah.
or whatever, maybe 10.
Yeah. And this one has area and
what
length.
What is it? 8 or 10? I should know that by now.
And length is there too. So not only did it go from, and the coordinate system changed. So not only did it go from MIF to shape, picking files that we never dreamed we would pick, we recalculated the length, added it on, calculated the area, added it on, and reprojected. And so ultimately, of course, we could push this to server, and then we have a really nice little service there that can take any piece of data, transform it, add value, give it back to you, and away you go.
Now, we can step, if you are using the generics and you need to work with formats that have more parameters to them, then now Don's going to show you how to do that.
Like GPS, for example.
Like this fancy GPS format that you downloaded off the internet.
So again, the user experience hasn't been nailed down, but what I need to do is just say, oh, so if I'm working with a database or a format that absolutely requires a setting, I can add this new thing called a schema reader, and I wouldn't add a generic one. That would be interesting.
Yes, don't add a generic one. But
so if I type GPS, okay, so that part doesn't really matter, but I need to find the right one. Okay. Okay, here we go. Somewhere different every time. Okay, there we go. Generics and dynamics. There's the data. There's it. Okay, so open that one there. Okay, and now settings. Okay, that's not the. That data does not exist. Oh wow, it goes somewhere different. I like that. Okay, so we'll go there again. Okay, demo data. Okay, now what it's going to say is, oh, if you need to read one of these, use that for satisfying the reader parameters.
Can you show us where they are in the navigator pane, Don?
Sure. So they're right down here. So if I expand this now, I see my major roads. And what I can really do too, if I knew I was going out to, I could publish the joiner source. Okay.
So if you wanted to make one that goes too generic, but you know sometimes you're going to PostGIS, sometimes you're going to Oracle, you could add Oracle and PostGIS into there and supply different parameters in there, which will be picked up. And of course, those can be published as well, and it would then become an interesting UI exercise to how you wanted people to deal with it. But there's a provision for handling these cases. Now, most of you will not be doing the wide open kind of scenario that Don is. You'll be a little more constrained, and so it won't be quite so difficult to nail this down. But I know, for example, some of those things that when they're doing massive reprojections of data using the GTrans transformer, this would make that really, really simple and powerful. So now you're reading that GPS thing, Don?
Yep.
So it guessed the format based on the extension and
yep.
did its thing. How can we take a peek at the output?
Yep.
Were these linear data?
They were.
So that would, I'm hoping there's an area of 0?
I'm hoping. Okay, so we went to shape, FME viewer, Esri shape, and there they are. And the attributes are there too, so it pulled the attributes across. Okay.
And that length was what we calculated.
Yeah, and the area was 0. So there you go. So not only can I use existing formats, I can also use a custom format that somebody wrote using Workbench. We could look at it, but we don't have time. And it actually guessed the format name based on the extension. Okay, so.
Whew. Yes.
Okay, good. We knew that was going to work. Okay, so that's the first one. So that's pretty exciting. When you think about FME server, you think about being able to do these workspaces that aren't tied to schema or format. With 2010, we have the whole story. And please play with it. There's lots of tricks and lots of different things you can do. You can even set up multiple schemas and at runtime pick the particular file. We've just scratched the surface to give you an idea of what
Actually,
you can do.
I think that, Mark, is it true that if they study the 3 R's, you cover some of this material in there? Okay, so there you go. You can pick up this book and quiz Mark because that talks about it. Related to this is dynamically changing the schema on the fly.
Yes.
And we aren't going to have a demo about that, but there's some research going on in Europe with, which is it, the Munich Technical?
Yeah, University of Munich. The Technical University of Munich with Andreas Danebauer, and we're working closely with Conterra as well.
And so the idea is to take what Don just had there, but have a database or a spreadsheet of attribute mappings where you know if you ever see the input name length, you want to translate that to the German equivalent of length. What is it? Länge, close enough. So, but anyway, you can do these kind of schema mappings which would apply both to the data and to the dynamically created schema. And so you'll be able to create these tables that would govern this sort of transformation, and that's what they're working on right now with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so in that workbook, there's that sort of thing. The last thing I want to say about that, for some of you that are on the advanced side of FME, FME is often used to do QA on things, to QA data. I want to add one more option to the generic reader, where instead of it returning data, it'll return schema
features. Yeah.
So within a workspace, you could do a test of the input directories and say, are there any misspelled attributes? Or are there any attributes in German instead of French? Or is there a length attribute in this data? You could do those sorts of things in the Workbench environment. So do QA on the schema, working kind of at the meta level. And I know Mark will enjoy putting together a seminar in 18 months on exactly that, because wrapping your mind around that is another sort of stretch to how we can work with things. But I think, again, opens up FME to solve another set of interesting problems.
Yeah. Okay, so FME, on the FME server side, security was by far the biggest thing we're working on for 2010. We're building an infrastructure so you can plug in any security, whether it be Active Directory, LDAP, or whatever. There's also full-blown security you'll be able to get from Contera. Okay, we've plugged into the security manager. That'll be able to enable it to tie down things to the repository, very fine-grained. Okay, what I'm going to be doing here is just having the basic security, which ships with the FME server, that controls access. People either have access to it or they don't. Okay, but it is secure. So now, you remember the vault door being wide open. Now it's nailed down. So this will meet many of the requirements for some of our users. Okay, so we're going to do that this morning. Of course, everything now is secure. So you'll recall in 2009, if you ever published something to the server, you had the user and password, and you could put in whatever you wanted every time, change it. It just went to the server, but nothing was actually done with it. Now, when you'll see the same interface, but now the password actually does make sense. And all the APIs from SOAP to C to Java will require passwords. Okay, so and again, just basically what I just said. So those are some of the things. We'll support HTTP basic and digest security. Try it out, give us feedback, and let us know. I know that Ken's really excited about this, because this is one thing that Ken's our product manager. Stand up, Ken, just so everybody knows who you are. Ken's the product manager for FME Server, and him along with Aaron and Michael and a few others are the guys who have to try to keep this thing going for people, and this is the #1 thing they hear about. Okay, so you'll see that as we do the demos in a few minutes. Something else we're really busy working on is integration demos, that examples, so that users have something to start with. There's nothing better than an example. Okay, so we have a couple of integration examples that you can download. We can make available from FMEpedia. There's an ArcGIS server one, for example. Okay, there's the ArcGIS server right there. So again, what you can do. Oh,
looks like
sorry.
Google Maps to me.
It does. There's the ArcGIS server one.
Okay.
On the other tab. Okay, there's the ArcGIS server one, where basically this is Austin, Texas, and what you can do is simply, draw a polygon, click around, and choose your area of interest, and then basically there you go. You picked your area. You can pick your output format, and you can show because this is a building block, you can show the URL if you want. You can show or hide it. I won't do this because the internet here is so fast, but we can give you the URL. It's in this PowerPoint deck. When you get this PowerPoint deck, those links are hyperlinks, so you can try it, play around. Remember, they're examples. They're meant as starting points for you guys. So now if you're using ArcGIS Server, you can easily do this. And this is using the examples, just using the free open ArcGIS Server example. So there you go.
And I guess the same would be true for the Google Maps one.
Yeah, pretty much exactly the same thing. And there'll be other ones. There'll be a Bing one at some point. And
we have to keep renaming it. That's what's slowing us down.
That's right. So that's another thing we're working on.
While we're showing that, I'll just put a plug in for, maybe we shouldn't do this, for Ulf's personal website. In his spare time, he and Peter, I think, have created a website called bbox.me, bbox.me. And it's actually useful for creating bounding boxes for testing web services. So if you're in the business of having to test things, go to bbox.me. And Elf tried to get f.me, but thankfully that wasn't available. But anyhow, family values, folks. Family values.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, so that's something else we're working on. Okay, so now back to the family values thing. I have a daughter, and I've almost lived through the Hannah Montana situation, and I'm really distressed at what's happened.
Now you're graduating to these.
I'm trying to avoid these. I'm hoping we don't go down the Miley Cyrus route, but anyway.
My biggest problem is that my son wants to get a Zune. So
yeah, there you go. I wonder if they're going to change that to Bing. Anyway, so the number one problem that I'm concerned of, and I know many other people here are who have daughters, is keeping these horrible people away from our children. So, and you can see some of the pictures, and they pretty much speak for themselves on why we really don't want them anywhere near our children. So here's the solution we're going to do. What we did is we know these people are incredibly vain, so we bought them each a nice ankle purse. Okay? And we mailed them to them, and we knew that they would wear them, and they do wear them. The interesting thing about this mail purse is that we embedded a miniature GPS tracking unit. Okay? They don't know it, but you can see, and that's literally in somebody's palm, so these things are getting very, very small. So now wherever these people are, we know where they are. And so what we're going to do is we're going to track them. And so
you know what we could do is just give them Google Android phones, and they wouldn't even know.
They wouldn't even know. That's right. We could do that too. So so we're going to track them. We're going to use FME, of course, to do this.
Are you really going to do that?
Yep.
You're going to send SMS alerts?
There's a few people here who have registered. You'll remember the Kilkenny Council. If you did a very good talk talking about how people can register to be notified when there's a flood or something. But what we've done is there's a number of people in the audience who need to turn their cell phones on. We've had them register to get notified when any of these baddies enter a buffer zone around an elementary school, okay? So that's what we've done.
And actually we're using Twitter to pull it off.
We're using Twitter because then we can send as many SMSs as we want for free.
Yes.
Okay, and we can control who gets them because we wouldn't want Brittany. Well, actually somebody really bad signed up. So we had to, anyway, we won't get into that. It's amazing when you open it up for Twitter who follows you.
Is that really right?
Yeah, there was somebody named something Sophie. What's that? There you go. So there you go. So that's...
Family values, Graham.
Yeah. And that happened just... What's that?
Okay.
Okay, so...
That means, folks, yes, there is a Twitterer transformer in FME 2010 that can programmatically post things to Twitter.
And so now we're going to go to the demos here.
Is that what it's called, incidentally?
What's that?
The Twitterer transformer.
It will be called the Twitterer, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was done by Joel and Juan. So anyway, so here we go. I call it, the workspace is called Electric Fence. So we're going to edit with FME Workbench. And, okay, much too. And so it's a very simple workspace, really, because I like to keep my demos simple so that you can be convinced.
So what do you got? We got a live feed coming in of locations, which is putting stuff into a CSV file. Is that right, Don?
Yeah. Now what I need to do is run a Python script that actually goes and harvests. So they're wearing these right now. They're walking around somewhere. And I got a little Python script. And you may not know, but if you go FME space, the name of a Python script, you can run it.
Okay.
Yep, so that's what I'm going to do. I've made FME actually be the application that runs the Python. And it doesn't use a license when it's running Python. So,
so it's sort of a freebie. Okay. So right now our feed is live.
Yeah.
And then we're going to read these things and give them points.
Yeah.
Glue together some kind of, I guess, some kind of identifier. Filter it by some different things about where they are. And then we're going to go down here and read in the school districts. And then we're going to filter them. And then if they actually are inside, we're going to output them. We're going to KML, is that right?
Yeah, we're going to KML.
Oh, but I bet this is the Twitterer thing.
Right down here, yeah. And yes. I apologize to Joel. I'm just using the raw thing he did. He initially wrote it in Python. So anyway, but this is the thing here that sends the Twitter out, okay?
Right.
And then anybody who's registered is going to get notified. So what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to publish this to server, okay? And so I'd simply go like this. And, oh, sick. But I remember my password, and I'm sure you'll know it too after I type it. Okay, there you go. Okay, so there you go. So very secure.
FME.
You know,
FME.
still trusting. Yeah, there's probably nobody at Safe who doesn't know my password. Okay, and we're going to put it into a new one. We'll call it Whistler, just so we know that this is really happening. Okay, so there we go. We're going to publish it And we're not going to upload the data because we have that Python thing that's out there scraping these people's live GPS feeds, putting it into a file. It could be any of the 228 formats. We don't care. And we're going to say next. Okay, and we're going to configure the KML network link, and I'm kind of paranoid, so I don't want to know where they are every 60 seconds. I want to know where they are every 2 seconds. Okay.
So for those of you that used FME Server in the past, this is a new dialog that lets you set up the parameters for a particular service at the time you're publishing it. So it's sort of like meta information about the different services, and you can alter it, and magically it all works.
Okay, so now I say publish. And lo and behold, it's up there on server. So now I go over to server, okay? And fortunately, I don't need the internet for this one, okay? And oh man, this security, I got to tell you, is a pain. But
fortunately,
you only have to do it once. And Whistler, and there's an electric fence thing. There's nothing to configure. Okay, because I didn't publish any parameters. So because this one's just reading and just doing, so I simply say run, and up it comes. I'm going to go to Google Earth. And no request has yet been sent, but you can see I have this nice little box here. When I turn this on, it's going to go to the server and hit the server every 2 seconds. The first time it takes a little while for everything to get all gussied up, and then eventually the thing should turn green, and we will be very happy when that happens. And okay, and there we go. Oh, okay. So hear that? Somebody got a Twitter there. I did too, but
Ken got it.
Yeah. So there you go. So these people keep moving around. Whenever they enter an area, there's they'll get a Twitter. And whenever a new one enters, and so on and so on. So all those, there's a number of people, you heard somebody's phone go off there. And so it's
actually amazingly fast, because that's going from here out to the net to Twitter to some SMS gateway and then back around.
Yeah. And I can control who gets to see this or not. So there you go. A very easy thing to do with FME. So because literally that's all. Oh, see, somebody else entered a bad area, and who knows?
Zoom out. It might be Pamela Anderson just down below a little bit. Maybe.
Yeah, somebody did. Or that maybe they just had to delay those people there. But anyway, so anyway, we won't leave that running all day.
But we might as well leave it running a little bit more.
Okay, sure, while we do other things.
Sure, we can just check back in.
Sure, and you can see the properties here on this when I set it. So there's my 2 seconds, and I could configure anything. So when I publish it, the users get it whenever they want.
And again, what this means is that Google Earth is causing that workspace to keep running every 2 seconds. Google Earth is nice enough that if the network is slow and so on, it won't keep pounding it. It'll wait till it gets an answer and then wait 2 more seconds. But nonetheless, you get a fairly good refresh happening on these things.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, let's go back to the presentation, and if it rings, we'll check in again.
Okay. Good idea. Okay. Okay, right from there. Good. Slideshow from current slide. So that's the one there. So that's what we did there. Okay, the next solution is thing we're going to look at is the Interopolis city has a security intelligence service, sort of like CSIS, but they're called ISIS.
Not to be confused with ISIS that's actually at the conference here.
There's an ISIS at the conference here?
Yes, there is. Where is ISIS?
Is ISIS here?
They were yesterday anyway.
Okay. And they have a nice logo, okay? So what they want to do, though, and this goes back to the family values, is they're tracking baddies as well. These people don't really know much about computers, despite the fact that they're security intelligence service. You'd think they'd know something about computers, but they don't. And when you see their uniforms, you'll know exactly why. So this is how they walk around. They're in disguise, so nobody knows who they are. Okay, so you can see the guys down here, that's their outfit, and then the woman back there, that's from a TV show I loved when I was a kid called ISIS. I'm sure many of you used to watch it when you were about 10 to...
I think it was very popular in Europe,
It was very popular. So what we're going to do now is it's another FME server situation where basically we're going to deliver any kind of data. So these guys go around, and they get pictures, they get video, they get 3D buildings. They have all of this information, and they know who it belongs to. And so they tag them all with the person it belongs to. And they also know where the person lives. Okay, they have their house. And so then they're just going to link that information to any ground point. So what we can do is we can take any piece of information with FME server and tie it to the ground, and now we can actually distribute that in real time. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to find my data here. Okay, it's going to be here, here. Okay. Now for these folks, what we did, this is integrated data stream. These guys know how to use PDF, and ISIS doesn't have a lot of money. They spent it all on their uniforms. So what we've done is we've given them all. Whoa.
Uh-oh. There must be
somebody.
Let's take a peek over on Google Earth.
Let's go on Google Earth. Amy Winehouse has entered a restricted zone. So, so there you go. So anyway,
that's probably
enough. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. So what we've done with these people. So there you go. So you can see I run that all day. Normally I don't let the other people follow because in some countries you actually can get charged for incoming SMS messages. The country shall remain nameless. Okay, so here we go. We sent them a simple PDF document, and I'll show you the workspaces. Again, I have put no effort into making these difficult. Okay.
So again, what the ISIS agency does is give their field agents a PDF document that was made with FME that has building outlines and then some icons.
That's right.
For the various intel they've got on the various.
That's right. So we'll go to one, and then I've probably given it away, but that's okay. You get the idea. So now I can zoom in, and you can see Dimitri loves my cartographic skill. One time during a call, I said, well, that looks good enough to me. He goes, yes, but you're not a cartographer. Anyway, so now we have these nice little happy faces. I can click. If I want to see the house plan, I can just click on the house plan, and you'll notice this guy.
URL. Is that a URL going back to FME server, Don?
Yep, that URL went to FME server, and there's the house plan. So right from FME server, it immediately sent me back the 3D PDF. Okay,
and we've got that PDF, that 3D data could have been pulled from, say, Oracle Spatial. Don and I have a demo deck where we have all these 3D buildings in Oracle, and then depending on the key, we pull out the right building, reconstruct it, and zing it out in the format people want. Oh, you got another building there?
And there's another building because different buildings have different houses. Okay. How about let's see who owns this house here. Okay. So there. Oh wow, what a. Yeah, okay.
Looks like
and do you want to see who my neighbor is? Sure, you want to see who my neighbor is. And you'll see why I'm really worried. Okay, my daughter doesn't have a lot of chance. That's why I keep her in sports. Okay, and here's Lindsay Lohan on her first collagen lip injection. Okay, so hardly looks like herself, but you can see why the people track these people. And a video, you want to see a video of Lindsay maybe, just don't listen to the words.
That subtle cue is for the sound man.
Yeah. So, and again, now the FME server is streaming back.
The movie's kind of about luck.
Streaming back video
it seems like you're having the
of the information that was at that place. Okay. So anything that has a MIME type.
Exactly. Do you think you're a klutz at all?
That's probably enough there. Okay. That's enough there too. Yeah. Well, we'll leave that one. Okay. And we can also get a little bit of a write-up about these people. So is this Lindsay Lohan? Because she has the best write-up because she's totally... poor Dave Campanis, I asked him to find some pictures of these people who... and he came back and he says, okay, I found some video of these people. Now I really need a shower. So you can see Lindsay Lohan stalking her ex-girlfriend or something, and I don't know. So it's you can see why ISIS tracks these people, so you get the idea. Now, how hard was this to do? Well, this was really easy to do because here's the workspace for me streaming the video, okay? People probably think, wow, FME can do video. Well,
not really.
But any piece of data, we can take it and we can ship it. And so Ryan Prue, for example, wrote something called a file copywriter. That is the workspace that simply can stream video out through FME server. I simply publish this workspace to the server, and now I simply tell it on the host machine where that is, and the data is streamed back. And all the workspaces look exactly the same.
They get passed an argument. You have a published parameter somehow that gives them a key so it knows what to pull out. When you create the PDF, you make all these URLs that have the right keys in them. When the person clicks, it goes to wherever, pulls out the information, and then through the wonder of FME Server's framework, it zings down the data. The one other sleight of hand that's involved here is that there's a MIME type associated with every one of those so that the web browser knows what kind of action to take. And so when you set this up, you have to set up the correct MIME type, and then bang, you've got yourself a nice framework for creating these things. Yeah,
so everyone just has the owner ID as the... Okay, so how did I build the PDF? Again, I spent zero effort in making it complex. Okay, so that was one ugly PDF, I agree. Okay, and here's the workspace here that built it. Again, the goal is to make it as small as possible.
Hey, the source format was SDF3.
Yeah, how about that? So that's like a database. So, and there you go. So that's the whole workspace that all these little guys here are doing is I calculate the center point at a house, and all I'm doing over here is simply offsetting. I pass in the offset for each different type of data that I want my icons moved, and then I simply build the linked URL. Everything's exposed, so if I go into one of these guys and look, you know, when I call that transformer, I simply specify the offset and a few other things.
The base URL, what kind of tooltip he wants, what symbol he's going to use, and then the parts of the parameters basically to get passed in.
That's right, that's right. So the point here is that if there's any piece of information that's can somehow be tied to the ground, FME Server can deliver it. And once we have data upload going, you can imagine we would also be able to upload any of this. The user could enter where it is and be able to do it.
One of the most interesting things from Brendan's talk yesterday, well, there's many interesting things, but was the very nice user interface for citizens to identify their location. For those of you that didn't see the talk, you'll want to catch that on video, but basically citizens can identify where they are, and then whenever there's going to be a water outage or something in that area, they will automatically get an SMS sent to their cell phone warning them. And this kind of technology can be used for that kind of thing, for good rather than evil.
That's right, that's right. I mean, there's just so many things you could do with this. I think when it's done, I'm going to start up geotagging my photos, because I don't know about you, but we had a friend who, anyway, bad situation, his wife wanted pictures of him. I knew I had a bunch of pictures of the guy, but I couldn't remember if I took them in 2002 or to 2005. I mean, that's what my mind's going. So, but I knew where I took them, so you end up going through thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures. Now, if I hadn't known the location, it would have been easy. I could have just gone there, and boom, I would have found them in 5 minutes. So anyway, there's time. Being able to organize information and distribute it based on location is huge. Okay, and it's trivial to do, too, which is the best part. Okay, so that solved the ISIS problem. We're still waiting for them to pay. Okay. The next problem is 3D. Initially, when we did 3D, Dale and I thought, textures really don't matter much. It's sort of, you know, let's just get the things. And so we were just eating our pie with no ice cream.
Yes.
And then Kevin came into the room, and he gave us a scoop of ice cream, and he said, basically, you know, have some ice cream with your pie. Don't you think it's much, much better? And it was like a totally different experience. And he said 3D with textures is the same thing. You have to have the texture. So, okay, so what I'm going to do, that's a great story. Not true at all, but it's a great story. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we're just going to take drag and drop. So let's say you have a 3DS file, okay? And so I have a 3DS file here. I'm looking for 3D textures and more. Okay, I have the Canadian Parliament building. So we're in Canada. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to use Universal Translator.
Yep, doesn't get enough screen time, really.
No, it doesn't. And this is the one thing I always test when there's a new format. First, I use the UT, because I always go looking for PRs, and I know the developers live and breathe in Workbench, and so 50% of the time, do you think we get lucky? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So Autodesk 3DS format, and because everybody has 3D PDF, let's just go there, and that's as hard as it is. I better type an output.
Do you like your output file name there, Don?
.pdf. So we'll type it parl.pdf. I say OK, and you'll notice it's using build 50.
The symphony unfolds before our eyes.
That's right. Drag and drop. OK, bang, bang. And in a few seconds, it's going to write a PDF file, and we'll open it up in using everybody's favorite PDF viewer, which is Acrobat. OK. And we're done. Okay.
Cute.
So now I refresh this. There it is. Open with Acrobat Reader 9. And there you go. Just like that. Okay.
Parliament Hill.
Parliament Hill. Okay.
Well, you can go right
and
inside.
You could go right inside.
Probably the only way I'm going to get inside Parliament.
Yep, that's right. So there you go. So simple as that now with FME. You just point and click, and we'll be able to go to anything. We'll be able to go to ArcGIS geodatabase. You'll be able to go to any format ultimately that has textures. That's one of the big focuses of the whole 3D movement. And the credit here and the vision on this one that textures were really critical go to Kevin and his team for doing that. It's kind of funny, we got really lucky on this one because if we hadn't done raster first, we couldn't have done textures.
Yeah, because if you're going to do a good job of textures, it might be useful to have a whole raster core that can do all kinds of amazing things with rasters. Oh yeah, we have one. It's almost as if we were as good as Stephen Jobs and had laid out this whole plan years and years ago that yes, we would do vector, then we would do raster, then we would do 3D, but actually that's not it at all.
No, sometimes you get lucky. Okay, so that's how hard it is to move something. Okay, so not being happy to just understand rooftops and textures and things like that.
This is an actual picture of our chief scientist up on top of a roof doing some field work to see what the roof textures are really like. Actually, if Don
he wanted to touch them, he wanted to feel the textures. Kevin's that kind of a guy. You know when you get a baby, a new toy, when they're really young, you have textures. So that's what Kevin's like. He wanted to feel the texture, not just see it.
I think if either Don and I would have been there, we'd have said, let's pay somebody 30 bucks and get them to do it.
Yeah, if that guy falls off, and that roof is incredibly, he told me the story, and I just said, I don't even want to hear about it. Next time, like, just don't do that. You fall off the roof, and
that's the end of our 3D textures.
That would be it. So there he is.
Thankfully, he made it down intact.
Intact, yep. Minor scrapes.
His dad wanted him to go down the other side and clean the eave trough, and he refused, thankfully.
Thankfully for that, yep. So that's him doing research.
But the result of that research
is, basically, this has been working for how long?
How long, Kev?
This one here?
Yeah.
Probably about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay.
So what we have is we have the city of Interopolis, and they want to build a 3D model of their city. So they have a number of things. So let's see what they have.
They have some ingredients. Let's look at the ingredients, Don.
Okay. Let's look at the ingredients. Okay. Final roof demo. So let's look at the input. So they have...
they've got some kind of building footprints.
So let's look at that.
Actually, this isn't Interopolis. This is Gävle, one of my favorite Swedish cities.
Yep. And so these are the building footprints. If I zoom in, I got to remember how to use
famous for the burning Christmas goat.
Yes.
So
if I zoom in, you can
model
see
of that.
Yeah. You can tell the words are Swedish. Okay.
Alf can translate for us, but I think that Hujtefku mean the height of the building before the roof, and Teknu must mean after you put the roof on. Is that right? We're going with that anyway.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Excellent. And if you may wonder where we got our Swedish accents from, and of course it's the IKEA commercials. Okay. So
actually, I thought it was from the Muppet Show Swedish Chef. Oh. Since we're on a Muppet theme today.
That's right. And so that's the first input. So just simply building footprints and height. Okay. The next input is we have an ortho photo here. So I'll drag that on because it's kind of neat to see if they line up because that would be useful.
It would be helpful. One of the things about data inspection is making sure that it lines up.
And we better put the buildings on top. Okay.
I think it was still thinking.
It's still thinking.
Go for it. I think you got tooltip troubles on the side there, Don. One of the famous annoyances, drag that a bit wider.
There we go. And you can see the buildings, fortunately, overlay the geotip.
The roofs.
The roofs.
So that's kind of nice that they overlay the roofs. If we were going to make realistic roofs, it might be good to pick the roof off of the ortho photo. That's one thing. What else you got for ingredients, Don?
Well, we didn't actually have the textures for
we didn't get to go. We could have sent Ulf to Gävle for us, but we didn't get a chance to. So we sent Kevin walking around the neighborhood.
And he took textures. So if we had had not only the buildings, but for each building, the textures from all sides, then we really could have we could have showed you what Gävle actually looks like.
And I actually know in the case of Gävle, they really did have a guy going building to building, getting these heights. So he might as well have had a camera with him at the same time. But Don, why don't you go through a few more of these? Actually, my house is in there.
There's you go. There's Dale's front door. Okay.
Yeah, I just sold that house yesterday. That's actually true. It's a bit sad. I signed the papers yesterday morning. So at least I have a picture of it forever.
That's right. And then there's Safe's office. Okay, so
and
that's
Don, I think you want to actually get another thing from our neighborhood there.
That's right. That's right. Kevin's favorite house. Let's see where it is. Graffiti house. There you go. That's a nice house in Kevin's neighborhood.
Kevin has another name for it, but this is a family.
It's a very green family. It's so green that they know that you lose heat through windows. So the way they solve that.
I actually think the comedian might live there, actually.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, we'll want to see where he ends up in Yavle in a minute or two.
That's right. And so now what we're going to do
Let's put that all together into a 3D city model, Don.
Okay, let's do that. Should we just open it? Just go for it?
Do you have the workspace?
I have the workspace.
You want to see the result?
Let's see the result first.
Oh, not that. Kill that.
Let's kill that. That's not
Sorry,
really
Brett.
exciting. Okay,
Move
then
over.
No. Okay, so I got to fire up MeshLab here on the Mac. Okay.
To get some good 3D performance, we're going to stick with the native machine here.
Yep. And then you just got to watch me. I'm just really being scared here. I really don't want to wear those diapers.
So MeshLab isn't our
The
software
staff has
anyway.
seen me wear those diapers.
So which one
they
is
saw
it?
both of us wear those diapers one day,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
believe me, they do not want to go through that again.
So
okay, so this is it here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Aptly named.
Yeah. Yeah, because we wrote it out to OBJ. So what we did is we took the building footprints, cut out the rooftops, pasted the rooftops on top. We took the building textures from the sides of the buildings, and since we didn't actually know, we randomly put them around. But if we had the building footprints or the building textures, we could have actually built a real building.
The other thing is that Kevin, the intrepid roof maker, spent an afternoon and used the center line replacer with medial axis for every building outline to figure out an interesting roof line for it, simulated roof line. And then because we had the difference in heights, because those Yavle guys are so uptight and gave us those two things, we could elevate the roof with the right pitch. And so these are all simulated, but by golly, when you put it together,
yeah.
Go ahead and roll in there, Don, and take a look.
Okay. And this took 3 minutes to create. Okay.
The run of this, I don't know how many buildings are in there.
There's about 60, I think.
So you can see.
Yeah, and you can see there's the church over here. The buildings that we could tell that were flat, they are flat, but you can tell there's the textures. Now our graffiti house is there's one right there. There's right.
Can you zoom in on the graffiti house? How's your driving?
It's been better. Whoa.
We need Kevin to drive for us.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is.
There it is. There's a graffiti house right there. So you can see it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And MeshLab is the thing that does the weird pushing things off, but you can see. Now, if you want to parallelize this, it'd be very easy to parallelize. All you'd need is, because we can build one building at a time. So if you had the building footprints, you could send every single building as a simple workspace to FME server with its textures. It would come out with its textures in a roof, write them to a file, and then another one of our developers, Brittany, who's not here today, put together something. Then you could easily take all those buildings, slap them all together in another workspace, and then you would have a city. So you could even do that on the fly, depending on how much time you had. But it's not.
So I mean, the other thing about this is that this is all going through the FME core, so the full attribution for every one of those houses can be carried through. Yep. And if we were going to a system like ArcGIS, which we'll be able to soon because it can handle 3D with textures, we could attach all the attributes on there as well, so that you could click on it and get Amy Winehouse's video, for example,
that's right,
or other
right.
useful things like that. But the attribute information is floating around. Now, it's amazing to me how well this simulated reality actually seems to reflect. I've been to Yavle. You've been to Yavle. Ulf, does it seem believable to you that it's Yavle?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
See there.
There's nowhere near as much graffiti, though. It's a much cleaner town than that.
Not yet.
Not yet. But anyway, I want to thank Eddie Larson, one of the first customers of FME back in 1997 or even earlier. I emailed him and asked him if he had a data set like this. I knew that they had been collecting building heights, but he gave us exactly what was needed. And I sent him back some of this stuff, and they're just thrilled with it. And they're going to start, they were actually having a project to do this kind of thing. So you can basically create yourself a virtual city without too much effort. And Kevin, I think you have a microfiche on you, don't you, for Mr. Jason Birch as another present for you. The city of Nanaimo gave us similar data. We didn't know if we were quite allowed to show it publicly, but if you hit Jason up, he might be able to show it to you. We've got exactly the same thing, virtual Nanaimo for you. Jason's data isn't quite as clean as the Swedish stuff because I think you have different building types that have different number of floors and so on. So we had to do some heuristics to guess at heights. So you could always hire a Swede to go around and actually measure the heights for you. But nonetheless, it's interesting how well you can simulate a city with that. And I know that Hans is going to have a lightning talk on this kind of thing they actually did this for a whole city prior to us having textures. I guess you got them on there later in the flow. Come back this afternoon to see that.
Yeah, city of Apeldoorn. Yeah, okay. So that's one of the huge things we've been working with. Okay. So we're going to...
We forgot one. Do you want to bring up that workspace just for a second? Because we wanted to show a couple things. We got 4 minutes left, so our timing is impeccable.
Yeah, and there's Beyond 2010, okay? That's the one slide we have on Beyond 2010.
That's right.
Okay, so...
Let's just look at that workspace, because I want to show a couple of things that will apply. We talked about all kinds of big initiatives around the fringe, but if I think of my friend Dr. Plittner, I have a few things for you as well that we've been working on. Actually, a lot of things. The speed helps you, but I want to point out the tester.
Yes, the tester. So if we go to roof, and this is important to a lot of users. In the past, you've had to have many, many testers in a row. Now what we've done is you can actually put down multiple tests, build ends and ors. Now the user interface, it's a work in progress, but you can basically...
it's the one above.
There we go.
So if you say composite test, now you can start to add more tests, and down in here you can say 1 and 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's right.
We know from our testing, our statistics gathering, and I know Mark Ireland, you've run some analysis of workspaces. The number one transformer is the tester that people do use. So we're trying to make that more sophisticated so you can perform more complex things.
Yeah.
Let's also, Don, just for fun, throw down a range filter. We did some things with the... Well, you need a little more room there to work.
I need a little bit more room. There we go.
So again, what kind of test that people often do is filtering by range. So just pop that in somewhere, hit the button, and we can say generate, hit the generate button.
Yep.
And just put in like 0 to 10, and 0 to 10, and 3. 2 is probably better. Okay, yeah. So you get that kind of a thing. If he says okay to that, you got to pick an input attribute. Just go pick one randomly and say OK. There you can see how we are then filtering based on range. And you can also do value mapping based on range. Peter, how this works underneath, we've extended at lookup to do this. Isn't that right, Kev? Is it at lookup? Who did the work? Maybe not Kev. Okay, I don't know who did it, but I'm pretty sure it's at lookup. So nonetheless, that's one thing. I have a dream for another version of this where every one of these is itself a test. So it's like a switcher or a case statement. So you could put a fairly complicated set of things, and then data comes in. It's like a switch track and heads out in one flow. So we're doing work like that to try to make workspaces take less space, be more powerful. That's the kind of thing we're doing for you.
Yep.
So I think that's about it. We'll just take a last look at that slide deck. Final slide.
And
so I was saying to people last night about this, that the core design of FME, Don came up with on a plane ride back from Toronto in 1995, I think. Yeah. And in that core design, in the earliest code of the very beginnings of FME, Don made provisions for multi-threading, which is still in there today, never been activated, and sort of waiting for that magical moment when we go to turn that on. And that moment is getting closer. So we know, we were just at a conference where they said the guy was projecting by 2017,
like 64 cores or 128 cores?
128 cores.
Yeah.
So computers aren't going to get faster that much anymore in terms of the individual cores. They're just going to slap piles of cores on. And so we have to find ways. FME Server lets you divide jobs up into lots of pieces. That's one way of doing multiprocessing. Yep. But we also know we want to do more threading as time goes on. Yep. Performance, again, relates to that.
Yep.
We're doing a bunch of work, actually, with the open source GEOS people. We're funding some work there to speed that up, and then we're going to include that in FME, which will help that.
Yep. On FME Server, we want to make it able to plug into other environments very easily. So we're building a messaging system so that then it could plug into anything that wants to get Java messages. So administrators are notified when something happens in FME server that's significant, and things like that. Maybe a job fails, they want to know when a job fails, or an engine crashes or something. They want to know about things like that. So that we recognize that FME server, by and large, is almost always going to be a component of a much larger system, whether it be an ArcGIS server or some other type of server technology. So we want to be able to make it very easy to plug into. And of course, last but definitely not least is we have a big list of user requests, and we're going to get great ones from the ideas board and other things you've sent in to.
One other thing I will mention, we have a major initiative going on that will affect all of you to redo all of the transformer documentation to be much more structured and much clearer and much more complete. So a huge effort there. Some of that is already in the current betas, and I really am excited about that. It's an enormous job. There's like 300 and more, I don't know how many, but we are systematically doing that, and that's a big improvement that you'll see when 2010 comes out as well. Yep.
And there's a summary there. Just giving you a highlight of the things we've worked on. FME 2010 now comes with security, so look for that. That's a big deal. Workbench, it's going to be faster in 2010 and easier to use. And thanks to you for asking for these things and telling us what we need to do. And generic reading and writing and dynamics is going to change everything, because now you don't have to worry about the input format in the schema. I'm sure when I start in the future, I'll probably always start with generic. And then if I need to nail it down, I will. Why nail it down if I don't need to? Of course, there's some things we're going to need to do, so that there may be some attributes that are required when I'm using generic. So I need a way to say, hey, this attribute is required because maybe I have a joiner, or I have a tester I'm testing on it downstream. And last but not least, the 3D support. We've spent several years working on the 3D support, and all of a sudden it looks like we finally did something, but we've just been laying this huge groundwork to support 3D, so we can move 3D into any environment you want. And there's many databases now, GeoDatabase, Oracle Spatial, and others will be supporting 3D data. And as the pipe, we have to get the data into those systems very easily, so we're pretty excited about that.
And I guess one other future direction, again, if those of you that weren't able to attend the talk by Gabriel yesterday about extending FME through SDKs, he showed I said jaw-dropping at the time, and I still agree, demonstration of real-time feature debugging, and you'll definitely want to see that on video afterwards if you missed that session. And darn it, the next time I'm up here on stage at our next UC, whenever it is, I darn well better be demonstrating the same functionality integrated in FME. That was very inspirational, and check it out from Gabriel if you want to, or check the video. But that's a future direction as well that we definitely want to take.
It's huge, because Workbench really is the IDE. That's all it is.
Development environment.
People who are in production, as you know, you do not run workspaces within Workbench. I know in the office we do, but really in a production environment, Jason Birch doesn't go and fire up Workbench every time he wants to run a workspace in production. He just puts it in production, he batches it, puts it on server. And so having these nice debugging things in the IDE makes tons of sense, and we're very excited about that. So, and I think that's it.
That's it. We're back here at, I think, 3:35. You can check your things there for 4 lightning talks and then kind of a conference wrap-up. And then there's an informal, by then basically Don and I are out of money, so the supper tonight is on your own tab, but you can come join us all. We've got this pub called the Longhorn, which I'm hoping has at least 1 television screen, because there is the Stanley Cup final. Doesn't get more exciting than this, a Game 7. This is what kids dream of.
It is.
And Game 7 of the Stanley Cup will be on there somehow, I'm sure. Or if you hate that, you can probably go to a quiet corner somewhere and just enjoy something at the Longhorn. But back here at 3:35, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.